All right, we're going to talk about homospory and heterospory. What's the difference? It has to do with how many spores in the life cycle. Homospory means what? One kind of spore. Alternation of generations with one kind of spore. What would heterospory be? That'd be alternation of generations with two kinds of spores. One kind of spore, two kinds of spore. Let's look at some of the life cycles and the groups. We'll just start with group 1 all the way to group 4. Group 1, what is group 1? It is the non-vascular seedless plants, and we looked in some detail at the liverwort Marchantia. And so you look at a life cycle, where do you look? Well, right after meiosis, there's the crucial place. And so with Marchantia, do we have homospory or heterospory? Ooh, just plain old spores. That's one kind of spore, so that's what? Homospory. Let's look at non-vascular seedless plants. Mosses. We're still in group 1, non-vascular seedless plants, but now mosses. What do we see here? For mosses, we studied that in some detail. And what do we see at the crucial place in the life cycle? Right after meiosis, we see just plain old spores. Just one kind of spore. And so mosses have what? They have homospory. Yes, they do. Now we advance to group 2, vascular seedless plants. And we're going to look at some in the book that we haven't looked at in class. We're going to look at them quickly and just note whether they are homosporous or heterosporous. And so psilotum, here is psilotum. We look at the crucial part of the life cycle and we see what? Homospory or heterospory? Homospory for psilotum, absolutely. And now we move on to another group 2 plant, vascular seedless plants, that's group 2, Lycopodium. And so what do we have in Lycopodium? We have a tetrad of what? Spores. That's a group of 4 spores, but the point is they are spores, one kind of spore. So Lycopodium has what kind of life cycle? Homosporous or heterosporous? Homosporous. It has homospory. Homospory, one kind of spore. Let's move onward to Selaginella. Selaginella, also in group 2. And what do we see here? Oh my goodness, I see megaspores and microspores. And we're still in group 2, the vascular seedless plants. Oh my goodness, let's make a note about Selaginella. Selaginella has homospory or heterospory? Oh my goodness, heterospory. Two kinds of spores. Two kinds of spores. Now we move to another group 2 plant, another vascular seedless plant, Isoetes. Isoetes, kind of a strange little plant, but the main thing we need to look at is right down here after meiosis. Do we have homospory or heterospory? Ooh, I see megaspores and microspores. Oh my goodness. So what do we have for Isoetes? We have what? Heterospory, two kinds of spores, yes. And a couple more. Now we've studied these last two, Equisetum. We studied Equisetum. Here's the life cycle. And what do we have with Equisetum? Homospory or heterospory? We have just one kind of spore. So Equisetum, a member of group 2, vascular seedless plants, has what? Homospory. Homospory. And then there are ferns. We studied ferns in some detail. And so what do we have here? Homospory or heterospory? We have homospory. Absolutely. Well, that concludes group 2. We're going to now look at one gymnosperm, but it will be representative of all gymnosperms. And so this is group 3, vascular with naked seeds. We have vascular, and we have seeds now, but they're uncovered or naked seeds. No what? No fruit. Okay, our pine tree will be our representative here. And what do we see? We have not studied pine trees in detail yet. We will soon. And do we see one kind of spore or two? Ooh, I see microspores here, and I see megaspores here. Microspores. So it looks like pine trees, and I'll just tell you, all gymnosperms are what? Homosporous or heterosporous? They are heterosporous. Heterosporous. Finally, angiosperms. Angiosperms, group 4, vascular now with covered seeds. We're talking about all the flowering plants. So here's the diagram from your book. They've arranged it just a little bit differently. They turned it kind of cattywampus. Instead of drawing the line across, they drew it up and down, but we can still figure it out. Of course, we study this in great detail. What do we see here? Microspores. What do we see up here? Megaspores. So angiosperms are which one? Homosporous or heterosporous? They are very definitely heterosporous. And so our conclusions, based on what we just looked at, which groups have homospory only? All right, that would be which group? Group what? Group 1. Yes, homospory only. How do we characterize that group? Non-vascular seedless, that's right. Which groups have heterospory only? That would be based on what we looked at. We would say which ones have heterospory only? That would be the gymnosperms and the angiosperms, right? And which groups have both? Well, that would be just one of them, right? Group which? Group 2. What's group 2? Vascular seedless plants, which includes the ferns. And ferns had homospory, but that group that they're in, we looked at a wide variety of plants from that group. Some were homosporous, some were heterosporous. Let's say it again. Which groups have homospory only? Group 1, non-vascular seedless. Which groups have heterospory only? Groups 3 and 4, gymnosperms and angiosperms. Which groups have both? Well, that would be just group 2, the vascular seedless plants. Okay, that's our little study of homospory and heterospory. Bye-bye.